Welcome to CEC Gurukul live lectures. Good morning viewers and listeners. I am Dr. Parveen Sharma, Principal, Hindu College of Education, Sonipat. As we know that destiny of India is being shaped in classroom, so we need a perfect and good education system. Hence, we need trained teachers. So, today in this discussion, we will be talking about what do we mean by teacher education, what is its need and what is the importance of teacher education. We will see this concept in its historical background and what do we mean by professional development, why we need it in the present scenario, and what is the need of professional ethics and what do we mean by it, and how as teacher educators we can make efforts to bring this professional development. Well, let us begin with to know the teacher education, its concept in its historical background. You know, the history of teacher education in India is very old and very deep, may be considered as born in 2500 BC. If we talk about the historical background, we can divide this historical aspect into 5 parts. Namely, the first is the ancient and medieval period, which goes round about 2500 BC to 500 BC. Then the Buddhist period, that is 500 BC to 1200 AD. Then the third is the Muslim period 1200 AD to 1700 AD. Then British period 1700 AD to something 1947 AD. Then comes the independent India, that is from 1947 till date. Well, listener, we will be talking about professional development, but before that, it is essential that we come to know its history. How did the education reach to the present scenario, to the present condition? So, first of all, I would like to discuss with you what was the position of education and what was the about the training of the teachers in the ancient and medieval period that goes from 2500 BC to 500 BC. You know, in the beginning of Indian civilization, all teaching was concerned with teaching of Vedas. One of the 4 classes of Aryan society, there were only Brahmins who served as master of the community. You know, as there were a class system, so the task to each culture, to each caste was assigned, and every person according to assigned task was performed that duty, because these periodic classes deviated themselves to the work of acquisition, conversation, and promotion of knowledge and the transmission of prosperity. I mean to say that it was going on transmitting, and due to the caste system, each caste was assigned its duty. So, as there was a caste system, each class was assigned its duty, and everybody belonging to that caste was supposed to do or supposed to perform that duty. So, it was an established fact that only Brahmins could teach, and method and techniques of teaching during that time was very simple. There was a good rapport between teacher and taught. You know, I would like to remind you about Manu, the great scholar, the great educationist. He lays down that Brahmins alone shall teach Vedas and none else. So, it was the caste system according to which the education goes on. So, it means we can understand very well that there was no formal training for the teacher educators, for the teachers, because the person who were born in the Brahmin community, they could teach, and only the teaching of Vedas were concerned. Then we proceed further. Then came the Buddhist period, and it goes from 500 BC to 1200 AD. Now, let us see what was the position of teacher education in that period. Further, not only the teaching according to the caste system, it was the Buddhist period when the importance of teacher education was realized. It was realized in this period only, and it was said that the teaching was not the only right of the Brahmins, that the whosoever was born in Brahmin community could teach. So it was realized any learned person from any caste could teach. So formal teachers training find its root in this period, because then it was started that everybody who was learned in any community could teach. Teachers were monks. During this British period, teachers were called monks who were spreading the spirit of Buddhist religion. Further, he had to pass the 2 stages under the supervision of 2 teachers. Try to understand, when a teacher who was called monk, he had to go through the further training, and when the 2 supervisors in whose supervision the teacher was given training, when that supervisor said that the work is satisfactory, I mean to say, after the satisfaction of the supervisor, he could get the license or certificate to be fit for the profession of teaching. So there was a rigorous training. Then further, after the realization of the importance of teacher training, we just proceed further. Then there came the Muslim period, that was around about 1200 AD to 1700 AD. During this period, there was no formal system of teacher training. Mainly, teaching of Quran was imparted, as in the medieval or ancient time, only the Vedas were taught. In this period, in Muslim period, only the teaching of Quran was imparted. Educated people were appointed as Maulvis. The posts were filled up on the considerations other than mere academic qualification, meaning by not only the qualification were considered, but the other considers were also taken into account when these Maulvis were appointed, because Maulvis could be educated people from country, or they could be from abroad like Arabia. Only the Mohammedans were allowed to teach in Mokhales and madrasas. So we can see how the changes happened in the society. Then came the 4th period after the medieval period, Buddhist period, then came the Muslim period, then we proceed further, that is the British period, that goes from 1700 AD to 1947 AD. The education system was changed by Britishers as per their need and philosophy, meaning by when the British came here to rule over India, they started education system according to their need. They did not took into the consideration the need of the society of Indians. Their major goal was to spread British system, so that, and they were bent on educating Indian children in British system. I would like to recall all of you about the Lord Macaulay. He was of the opinion that we have to produce a class of Indian people who should be Indian in their blood, but they should be English in their taste and opinion and their thought. And how visionary he was. What he said, it is being proved in our education system. So we could see and we can notice that during this period they were bent on educating our Indian children through their British system. Then in this British period, first of all, Danish missionaries came and they established a formal training center. First they established this center at West Bengal. Then further they chose the other 3 cities, that is after West Bengal they established these centers at Madras, Bombay and then Calcutta. Then after these 4 period, we proceed further. I talked to you about history in a very brief manner now, because we have to see what is the professional development. But before the professional developments discussion, I would like to discuss with you how the position came till now, that is independent India from 1947 till date. My dear friends, if we put a glance on history, we notice various social transformation. new emphasis and shift in educational process has arisen. Changes all over the world lay stress on more expectations from teacher. We have more and more expectations from the teachers, from the researchers, and from the channels of media also. Teacher education has to maintain its relevance in coming century. These days we are depending more on channels of media also. So the expectations from teachers and channels of media is being increasing. Actually, I am trying to explain you how the teacher education or the teacher training is important. Previously the word was used teacher training, but later on this word training was amended, and it was thought by the scholars, by the educationists, that the training cannot be used for the person, and the term teacher education was established in place of teacher training. So actually the term teacher education was used after independence. The new concept was that teachers are not to be trained but should be educated also, because somewhere it was felt that training can be given to the animals, but the teachers, they should be educated. At the same time, a commission was appointed to look into the education problems, because we have passed through the Muslim period and British system where they tried to educate our Indian children according to their needs and according to their philosophy. So we have to see how in these days, in the present scenario and global, when we are talking about the global development, how can we educate our teachers so that we can improve our education system. As in this very much discussion, the first sentence I spoke to you, that future of India is being shaped in the classroom. So we as a teacher educator have to improve the education system. So Radhakrishnan Commission, University Education Commission, which is known by two names. In 1948, the Government of India appointed the University Education Commission under the chairmanship of Shri Radhakrishnan, an eminent educationist. Among the several recommendations, this commission gave so many recommendations, but in brief, I would like to discuss with you the one or the two recommendations. That is, first, this commission recommended that theory courses should be flexible and more practical subjects should be included. And moreover, we have to keep in mind that the courses, they should be adaptable to local needs and circumstances. That is what Shri Radhakrishnan ji wanted, that we have to educate our children, our teacher, with an approach of flexibility, and we should teach our children that they should have capability of adaptability according to the local needs and circumstances. Then after this commission, another commission was appointed, that is Secondary Education Commission, which is known as Mudaliar Education Commission also. Why we called it Mudaliar? In 1952, Government of India appointed the Secondary Education Commission under the chairmanship of A.L. Mudaliar. That's why sometime we call it Mudaliar Commission or Secondary Education Commission. This commission also gave it many recommendations, but I would like to discuss with you in brief one or two recommendations which were very important. The commission strongly recommended that the improvement of working condition in the training colleges should be improved and try to raise the social status of teachers. Long back, it was in the mind of the common people that it is not a reputed profession. So this commission gave a strong recommendation that we should give more emphasis on improving the working conditions of the teachers who are working in the training college. There arise a concept, that is the job satisfaction. If teachers are not satisfied, then they cannot justify with their jobs, and they cannot contribute in raising the standards of education system. So it is essential then to raise the social status of teacher and working condition. And among other various recommendations, the few were like this, that emphasis on refresher courses, meaning by suppose a teacher who is teaching in the colleges for more than 20 years or so, he or she should go under refresher courses, so that just to refresh the knowledge, because I was talking about the adaptation. So the old teachers, the teachers who are teaching for a long time, they should also have the adaptability to adjust themselves with the new system, with the new changes. We have to train our teachers, our students to go according to the changes which are occurring in the society due to the global impact. So specialized courses, workshop and research work, they should be emphasized. And after these commissions, I would like to discuss with you the another commission, that is National Education Commission, which was established in 1964-66 under the chairmanship of D.S. Kothari. As Mr. Kothari was its chairman, sometime we know this National Education Commission as Kothari Commission also. So Kothari Commission pointed out some of the weaknesses of the existing system of professional education. The commission noticed that even after the recommendation of National Education Commission and Mudaliar Education Commission, there were some shortcomings which were existing in the education system, and our whole focus is to raise the education system so that we can improve the conditions of our teachers' education, and so that they can impart or inculcate the desired values and concepts and the knowledge among our students. So commission observed that the teacher education was isolated from the mainstream of academic life. It was also noticed that there is a gap between the theoretical aspect and the practical aspects. Whatever we teach in the classes, they are not able, our students or our going to be teachers are not able to adapt themselves according to the practical needs. So it was noticed and it was focused, it was emphasized that there should be more combination or in theory and practice. Commission noticed that quality of teacher education was poor and suggested that it should be improved and facilities for expansion of teacher training should be focused. It is a common sense that when we give facilities to any professionals, then they will be having a feeling, having a gut to put in more efforts and to raise the standard. Then appropriate agencies should be created for the maintenance of standard at both the level, that is the center level and the state level. The commission gave its suggestions that we should appoint more and more agencies, and we can assign the task to the agencies how to raise the standards of the teachers. So after knowing the recommendations of various commissions and committees and how the teacher education reached to its present scenario in the light of historical background, we can see how it reached to the present time. So actually the teacher education is the professional preparation in pedagogy of those who want to enter the profession of teaching. These days we usually come across the word pedagogy. Actually it is a systematic method, systematic science. So it is presumed that the teachers who enter in this profession of teaching, they must be educated well. Teacher education in terms of professional competence is never complete. It goes on. The concept of teacher education is emerging these days in the areas of psychology, philosophy and other social sciences also. In the interest of the national development, the need arises that there should be transformation in teacher education, because, my dear listeners, my dear viewers, I was just speaking to you that we have to train, we have to educate our students and our would-be teachers how to transform their self according to, change their self according to the present needs. So for the success of any program, it is highly desirable to keep in mind that it should cater to the needs and aspirations of the society. If I talk to you that for whom we are teaching for the needs of our going to be citizens, who has to create something, who has to contribute something in any area of the society. So we have to see what is the need and importance of teacher education. By now we have come to know what is teacher education. Now I'll discuss with you what is its need. Society has evolved, changes are taking place. Its socio-cultural, political and economic issues have influenced the teacher education. It is expected that a teacher, along with abundant sources of knowledge, is an organizer of learning and learning experiences. She or he is a transmitter of culture, a builder of character, and can contribute in bringing required social changes. It is the teacher only who can cultivate a feeling of ethical values, because teacher is not only a repository of knowledge, rather he is a transmitter of knowledge. He is transmitting from one generation to another generation. So it is a foremost duty of the teacher or the teacher educator to transmit the culture or the heritage, and because he is a builder of character. Because directly or indirectly, students in the college or school or the children at home, they directly or indirectly imitate or follow the character and personality of the parents. In the same way, in the schools, colleges, offices, the small persons or the junior persons, they imitate the adult persons. So it is our foremost duty as a teacher educator that we have to transmit the heritage and culture and values, so that we can expect that the required or the expected social change will take place in the society. Now, to perform all these roles, the teacher has to possess following attributes. First, I would like to talk about the required competence for teaching. This is my firm belief that if you have a competence for a particular aspect, for a particular discipline, and especially because I am the teacher educator, so I will be talking about teaching. If you have a competence, no one can stop you, can understand the need of the society. That it is the duty of the teacher to understand what is the need of society. That's why I am talking about social changes. When a teacher is having in mind that these are the changes which are taking place in the society, so keeping in mind those changes of the society which are occurring in the society, teacher will be able to cultivate those values among the students, among the children. Can identify the psychological factors which influence education. Aims of education, some aims are eternal and some aim of education are being changes, because changes are occurring in the society. How these changes occur in the education or in the system, there are various factors which influence the education. The topmost is the psychological factors, and ability to teach or ability to choose teaching method as per demands of students. There are various methods. As we know that there are individual differences. Children in the class, students in the class have different capacities, different abilities, they have different tastes, they have different intelligence level, they have different personality. So a teacher cannot teach all the students with the same method. So we have to educate our teachers that you should have the ability of choosing the method as per demands of the students. First, you as a teacher has to see what is my target group, whom I am teaching, what is their mental level, what is their age level, and what is the need of the local area, and how to develop them as a global citizen. So we have to keep these things in mind. And at various stages of growth and development, children have their various needs which should be understood by teacher. There is a need to develop positive attitude towards teaching. this term positive attitude, you might be listening day to day in the society, whomsoever you interact, you might be listening this word positive attitude. We use this term positive attitude very often, but rarely we understand and rarely we adopt in our day to day life. So it is the foremost duty of the teacher that teacher should have a positive attitude towards teaching. Only then a teacher can inculcate that positive attitude among his or her students, because it is expected from the teacher to inculcate professional behavior. Later on I will be talking to you somewhere what do we mean by professionalism, how we can inculcate professional behavior. For the time being here, I would like to speak with you on professional behavior. Whatever task we are performing, we should be focused on that professional aspect and we should not bring in our personal problems. In that case, we won't be able to make justice with our profession. Patience, impartiality and fairness are the qualities expected from teacher. There are so many qualities which we expect from our teachers, but these few qualities few traits which I am talking to you are the topmost. We have, as a teacher educator, or we as a teacher have to work with patience, with perseverance, and we have to be impartial, because if we are impartial and if we follow fairness, these qualities are expected from the teacher, because these are the qualities we have to inculcate in our learners. So we see by now that what is teacher education and what is its important, what is its need, and how from its historical background teacher education has reached in our present scenario, and what are the changes now taking place in the society in present time, and what a teacher can contribute, how a teacher can contribute in improving the teacher education system. Now let us discuss the importance of teacher education. By now we have discussed what do we mean by teacher education and what is the need of teacher education. Now I'll discuss with you what is the importance of teacher education. To educate teachers in organizing learning resources, we have to educate teachers how to organize the learning resources which are available in the environment and how to share the resources with other institutions. And there is the need, there is the importance to implement effective curriculum teaching strategies. As few minutes back I was speaking to you that there are the individual differences and we cannot teach each and every student with the same method. So teachers should have capability and should try to understand which method and strategy will be suitable for a particular target group, for a particular child. So teachers should know how to implement the curriculum teaching strategies. Then we talk about effective interaction. Teacher must know that how to interact with the students, how they will understand, because it is the efficiency of the teacher that how he or she present the lesson or present the concept that the students to whom he or she is interacting are able to understand. Evaluate the outcomes of learning conducting CCA through appropriate tools and techniques, because these days we are talking about cumulative and comprehensive assessment. So teacher has to see how to construct those tools and techniques by using which effectively can come to know what is the outcome and what is the assessment of the students, and taking care of special children. These days the new education policy, according to new education policy, emphasis is being laid on creating the inclusive society where equal emphasis, equal attention is given to special children. So how to take the children who are special in the class along with the normal children? So it also depends on the potentials and efficiency of the teacher, how he or she is able to take care of the special children. This type of training or this type of education should be given to the teachers, guiding them to solve the problems of children. When we talk about counseling and guiding, we just have to guide the students. We are not supposed to solve all the problems. Of course, we say that we are there to solve the problems of the children, but you are supposed to tell the children how to solve the problems when you come across the different type of problems, and make them environmental conscious. These days all over India we are talking about Swachhta Abhiyan. So this cleanliness campaign should be taken care of by the teachers, by the teacher educators, and make efforts to make aware the students about the environmental conscious. These days we are talking about ban on using of plastic bottles and all plastic. So these kind of latest awareness or knowledge, as a teacher or teacher educator, we have to inculcate among our children to make them able to develop in students the qualities of democratic citizenship, like tolerance. For example, if you are not able to teach them tolerance, how to tolerate others in the society, then we cannot teach them how to cooperate. But my dear listeners, as a teacher, I expect from the adults, from the teachers first, that if we want to teach our students, our children, this quality of tolerance and cooperation, first of all, before preaching only, we have to practice this quality among ourselves, because whatever we preach is not sufficient, because our children, our students, they notice what we practice. So I am addressing to all the stakeholders, teachers and parents and my fellow colleagues, that whatever we preach we should practice. So if we want to teach the habit of tolerance and cooperation to our student, it is expected from a teacher. Teacher should be educated for these qualities, and further the qualities of empathy and social justice. These are very much expected from the teachers. I know if we want our students to learn the secular and scientific approach, so this should be the quality of the teacher first. So we have to educate in teacher education policies, we have to educate our teachers that we should have a scientific and secular approach, so that we can teach this approach, this feeling among our students, and to realize the importance of community service, so that they can teach their students the importance of community service. Suppose we want that our students should go in the society and render the services for any persons who is disabled or who is requiring the help. For that we have to show our efforts, that I am ready, we are ready for this service, I am coming with you, let us come forward. So I mean to say, whatever community service we want from our students, first of all we should have that feeling and that approach in our action only, not in our lecture. So whatever we want from our students, we should show that activity in our action, not in our lecture only. Then after knowing the importance of teacher education, I would like to discuss with you the objectives of teacher education. Why we are talking about teacher education? I spoke to you just now few minutes back that instead of teacher training after independence, we prefer to use this word teacher education, because we are not training the teachers, we are educating the teachers with the recent concept in the background of his history. With the changing needs to the society, teachers are no more viewed as a repository of knowledge rather than considered instruments of social change. It doesn't mean that the teacher is learning or mugging up something from one source and just imparting to the students. So, teacher is not a repository of knowledge only, rather considered instruments of social change. When the students notice that they are, whatever they are preaching, they are practicing, they become an agent of social change. So, it means when a teacher is saying that honesty is the best policy, and when the students notice that teacher is honest in every terms, in performing the duties, not in the monetary terms only, whatever duties assigned to the teacher, teacher is performing, whatever preaching is practicing, that it will leave a better and permanent effect on the students. So, these days we expect that teacher is not a repository of knowledge, is transmitting knowledge from not giver of information only, rather instruments of social change. Because if I mention NCTE document, a framework, future teachers should know how to teach the students the Gandhian values like non-violence, truthfulness and dignity of labor. If I am talking about these Gandhian values, violence, truthfulness and dignity of labor, so if we want from our students that they should follow these Gandhian values, so the students will expect from their teachers that teacher must be following these values. Then it means if teacher is adopting the policy of truthfulness, only then students will be able, otherwise it will not leave a permanent effect on the listeners, they will not be able to follow. Then further I talk about act as an agent of social change, that the teacher is an agent of social change who can bring social change, because it is the tendency of the common people, whenever there is a change in some material aspect, suppose there is a change of any object or any gadget, electricity gadget, then the people will buy definitely. But when there comes the changes in ideas, it takes time. So, it is the duty of the teacher to bring that kind of social changes in the thought processes. Only a teacher can change the thought process of the society. Then the caretaker of community also. Teacher is teaching not in the schools or colleges only, because these students and these which are who are learning in schools and colleges, they have to just step out in the community, because teacher is preparing the IAS, IPS, judges and all the other great persons in different areas, all were taught by their teachers at some place. So, it means the teacher is supposed to be the caretaker of the community also. He can act or she can act as a liaison between school and community, means those judges, those police officers, those IAS or the bureaucrats or whosoever is the great personality, they are being trained, they are being educated in the school. So, teacher can establish a liaison between school and community, because in the very beginning I spoke to you that future of India, destiny of India is being shaped in her classroom. So, teacher is a liaison between school and community, conscious about environmental resources. If we only talk about the historical aspect and teaching of Vedas, it is not sufficient. We have to prepare our students, our young generations according to the changes, new changes are occurring in the society. So, what are the environmental changes taking place and how to use the environmental resources to maintain the health of the people, because these days more and more our government is focusing on the health campaign also and cleanliness campaign also. So, it is the duty of the teachers also to make the students aware about the environmental resources, maybe cleanliness campaign or maybe health campaign, because it is a old proverb that healthy mind dwells in a healthy body. So, as a teacher educator, we have to teach our students how to use the environmental resources, and we have to protect our environment for good health. Then warm and positive attitude. Then it is also expected from the teacher that train or educate the students with a positive attitude, must be having a positive attitude. If there comes across some problems, then the teacher must prepare the students. If the problems has arisen, there must be some solution. So always have a positive attitude. Keeping at top the objectives of school education in Indian context. In the beginning also, when I was discussing with you about the committees and commissions and Indian Education Commission and Secondary Education Commission, then we discussed that all the commissions, so of course we discussed all the commissions in brief. So all the commission focused on this, that the school education should keep in mind the Indian context, what is our local needs. First we have to teach or educate our children for local needs, then we have to prepare them for the global aspects. We have to focus on all-round development, as our government is also talking about healthcare. So not only the academics, we are also supposed to focus on the all-round development, on the physical aspect, on the emotional aspect, on the intellectual aspect. All the aspects of a child should be taken into consideration in our curriculum, and we have to keep his or her knowledge update. First, in teacher education, we have to see that the knowledge of our teachers should be updated, because it is expected that if our teachers is having the knowledge update, only then it is expected from the teachers that will be transferring the latest knowledge, update knowledge to the students. Of course, I admit the teacher is not a repository of knowledge, not a information giver only. He has to focus on the all-round development, but give the knowledge updates latest. Undertake action research and investigating projects to improve upon present practices and identify the problems. These days, all of you must be hearing about a word action research. What is that? In brief, I would like to make it clear that action research is when we talk in the context of school and colleges and universities, then the problems of education system or problems related to our education in the institution or in the community or in the society, they can be taken, and on those problems data can be collected, and on the basis of data solution or strategies can be find out that what can be the solution of these problems. This is what we mean by action research in brief. Now I would like to talk about teaching as a profession. When we talk about profession, we come across to listen various words. Is teaching a profession? In the area of teacher education, we hear the word professionalism. Later on in some other session, I will be talking to you in detail about the professionalism. But right now, when we are talking about teacher education, we hear the word professionalism. There are some fundamental questions. What is teaching profession? Then another question which come to my mind is, how is it different from other professions? Then another question which come in my mind, that what are the ways and means for professional development? Not to me only, these are few questions which might be occurring in your mind. How is it different, and what do we mean by profession? So first of all, I would like to discuss with you what do we mean by profession. In this profession, a teacher tries to impart knowledge, develop skills and attitudes towards his students, meaning by how a teacher tries to inculcate the knowledge and skills and the right attitude which is required to his students. And characteristics of a profession have enumerated, like few characteristics I would like to discuss. It should cater the need of the society. Time and again I am focusing on it, that we have to keep in mind what is the need of the society where we are residing, what is the need of that society and where we are residing, because I am talking about nationalism. In which nation we are residing, we have to see what is the need of our nation. Then personal priority is to be given to his own job. So when a person is performing his job or her job, should cater to the needs of the society and to the needs of the nation, and the personal individual needs comes on the last. There should be social accountability. We are ultimately accountable to the society, because if we are not performing our task in a required manner, then we are liable to give the answer to the society. So our accountability to the society is topmost, because we have to live for the society. There is a old proverb in Hindi, अपने लिए जिए तो क्या जिए, तो जिए ज़माने के लिए, means we have to contribute for the society, for the nation, because if we are born on this earth, we have some mission. We have been sent by God on this earth to fulfill some mission. So we have to realize, we have to identify that mission, that goal, and we have to be accountable to the society and to the nation. There should be some ethical norms or considerations. Now I am talking about ethics. Each and every profession has its own ethics. After talking about the profession, I'll be speaking to you about some ethical norms or the commitment of this particular profession. There should be a professional association. We should know what is our profession, our personality, our thought, our action, all should be according to our profession. There should be autonomy and self-regulation. Of course, there are the laws, and we always talk about our right, but we forget our duties. So there should be autonomy and self regulations, because we should try to inculcate as a teacher that, or I would like to say that our teachers should be educated to follow the self discipline, self regulation. Only in that case they will be able to inculcate that self discipline named value among the children. And there should be freedom to charge reasonable fee for the service. It has long term education and training for a job role. Now, if I spoke to you teaching as a profession, I would like to speak to you teaching as a job. A job requires certain skills. To perform it effectively, a set of skills are essential for specific job. Teaching as a job requires a set of skills, that is reinforcement skill, lecturing skill, and demonstration skill. Generally it might be the opinion of the common people that teaching is a very simple job, but it is not a simple job. Teaching is a very challenging job in which various skills have to be taken care by the teacher. First set of skill, reinforcement skill. Suppose as a teacher you enter the class and you notice some of the children who are not ready to work, who are not taking interest. Then and there your job starts. You have to give reinforcement to the child. So there you have to use your reinforcement skill. Then lecturing skill. Then if you are to inculcate the values, but you are to give the information, then you have to use the lecturing skill. Then I am talking about demonstration skill. If you are teaching science or mathematics, you have to demonstrate that skills. It means teaching is a science as well as art. So teaching is a very challenging job, because suppose you are teaching a group of 40 students. There are the students who are having individual differences. Someone that you should go in a slow manner, someone that you should teach fast, someone that you should not use Hindi, someone you should not use this method, someone that you should teach in English. So it means the demands and expectations of the students from a teacher is different, and within the 45 or 40 minutes, whatever the time duration of the lecture, teacher has to keep in mind the interest and capability of all the students. So teaching as a job, if I talk about job, this job requires a set of skills which I have mentioned. There are other skills also. Then we talk about teaching as a vocation, because these are the terms we come across that sometimes they are used at a place for each other. A vocation refers to the potentialities and interest related to a job performance. So the term vocation indicates the aptitude of candidates in which he will be able to do the job effectively. When I talk about aptitude, in most of the courses there is the aptitude test for entering or entrance test to take admission in that particular class or particular job. That is the aptitude test. For example, if we are conducting the entrance test for B.Ed candidates who are going to be teachers, then we take aptitude test. So suppose we are taking, for example, I am taking data of 100 students. So if we notice that 50 candidates have cleared the aptitude test for B.Ed for teachers and other 50 have not scored well in the aptitude. So we can very well establish the fact that these 50 candidates have more aptitude of becoming teacher. If they are given education, if they are given good training, they will prove better teacher. I am not saying that the one group who could not score good, they are not able to become a teacher, but the candidates who has the particular aptitude of particular profession or vocation will prove himself or herself a better person for that particular aspect. Now, if I talk to you teaching as a profession, first I spoke to you what is a profession and what do we mean by vocation, and then what do we mean by job. Now, if we are to evaluate about the teaching as a profession, I would like to say that a candidate who have joined teaching should take it as a vocation, that she or he has the aptitude of teaching. Look now, just now I was speaking to you about the aptitude. Aptitude is different from ability. Ability, what we are performing right now, that is our ability, but aptitude indicates for the future potential. It means that a particular person is not doing that particular job now, but if given training and education will be able to perform in future. It is the indication of the future ability, future performance. It means he or she has the potentials of performing that task. So feedback device can be helpful in the development of teaching skill. It includes ethical considerations, social accountability and responsibility come under it. When I talk about accountability, lot of things, lot of ideas can be discussed about accountability, because if we see that a particular person is not performing the duty in a required manner, it doesn't mean that we are supposed to give the example of that person. We ourselves are accountable to the society, what we are doing, what we are contributing as a teacher, as a stakeholder, as a person. So it is our own responsibility what we are performing. We are not to follow the other person, maybe in health campaign, maybe in a cleanliness campaign, maybe our teaching capability, or whatever action or whatever work we are contributing in. We are to see ourselves that what we are contributing for the society, for the nation. Of course, we have to prepare our students keeping in mind the global aspect, but first of all we have to make them realize what are our local needs, what are our kind of society we are living in, and what is the need of the nation. After fulfilling the needs or requirement of the local community, society and nation, then comes the international accountability, then we discuss or we teach our students about the global scenario. And as a teacher is followed or imitated by the students, should be an ideal person of the society. Social change and social control can be brought up by education only. So it can be said the teacher has great responsibility, because teacher is followed by imitating the students. So we have to see whatever action or whatever kind of character or behavior we are showing in the society, we are being followed or imitated by our younger ones, by our students, by our children. So it is expected from a teacher that he or she should behave or establish herself or himself as an ideal person of the society, because social change and social control can be brought up by education only. If we are to brought up some social changes or we want to change the society, only education can play its role. So we see that teachers and teacher educator have a vital role to play in bringing the changes in the society. So lastly, it can be said that teacher education, we have seen the teacher education in its historical background and how it reached to the present scenario. It means it can be said that teacher has great responsibility towards society and the nation, and we should focus more and more on the development of the teacher education, and our government is also focusing more and more according to the new education policy that more and more facilities and training should be given to the teacher education institutes. So again, it's my message to our teacher educators and teachers that we should try to follow all those expectations which the society has from us. And with this note, I believe it should be helpful for all to know what do we mean by teacher education and what are the expectations from the teacher educator and from the educators. Thank you very much.